So if you were raised by a single mother, or maybe your father was in the home, but he just wasn't, he was either absent or he was a bad role model for you. Maybe he was abusive and you just didn't have the support and the healthy father figure that you needed growing up, then you've probably struggled with some sort of challenges, whether it's not being able to like carry out like the man activities, knowing the man skills like fixing stuff and DIY, or maybe your confidence is lacking because you didn't have that like the healthy like dose of masculinity of testosterone in the house to kind of get you to have a high self-esteem, to be competitive, to be driven. Maybe you struggle with emotional control because you inherited more of your mother's emotional traits. You're quite volatile now, and it's affecting you at work and in your relationships. Maybe you're a bit of a people pleaser because you were always seeking validation from your mother, and now you're a pushover and people don't respect you and women won't sleep with you because, well, you're acting needy, you're scared of enforcing your boundaries. Whatever it is, you've probably struggled with some sort of challenges, and I definitely have as well. And you've probably felt quite alone going through all this, right? Because it's not really a topic that's often talked about. You might know some other guys who are also raised by single moms, and maybe you've talked with them a little bit here and there, but by and large, it's not really a topic that is discussed in society, not in the press, the media, in schools. It's very interesting because we're very good at covering social issues. You see them all over the internet. You talk about racial inequality, we talk about LGBTQ+, we talk about female empowerment and feminism and women's rights and women getting into careers and having like more equal rights to men. And like, these are all important issues. Of course, I'm not denigrating them, but it's very interesting how quiet the front has been on the issue of young men raised without fathers and what the consequences are. Because there are some massive consequences, bro. If you've read some of these stats, they're absolutely terrifying. And of course, statistics should be taken with a pinch of salt. It doesn't mean that, because a boy was raised without a father, that's why he's now a drug dealer. That's why he ended up being a school shooter. That's why he's now in jail. That's why, he got lower grades. That's why he doesn't get any women. That's why he's committing suicide. But you can't deny the trend that the incidence of these horrible things happening with young men is much higher in those raised without fathers, raised by single mothers. And so it still baffles me that this is such an undiscussed topic. At the same time, what you do get is all the backlash and complaints from women in society for the way these young men turn up, for being raised by single mothers. So you'll hear women talk about, never date a man raised by a single mother. He's so-and-so, he's not a real man, he's a mama's boy, he's just weak, he's not man enough, he would go visit his mother all the time, or I feel like he's just not independent from his mother, he's just not that competent, he doesn't do it for me. And you see like forums of women saying, yeah, you go girl, all these guys raised by single moms, like they're just weak, had a bad experience myself, it's all terrible, and yeah, just don't date them, don't do it girl, find a real man. And so you get all this fucking backlash, but none of the solutions. Like, it's not talked about as to, why have young men developed like this from being raised by single moms, and what can we do to help them? Because ultimately, and this is what's really messed up in society's thinking, they think that it's men versus women. That's how it's effectively being portrayed these days, where, a girl would just want a real strong man, and she'll get a man, then it's all going to be good. But the thing is, if men are growing weaker or more depressed, or they're just not figuring things out in life, maybe because they were raised without fathers, there are fewer like competent men to go around for these women. So you see how if one sex loses, both sexes lose. But that's not how it's portrayed in society. It's still portrayed as men v women, which is completely retarded. And chances are that one of the biggest pain points in your life, if you're raised without a father figure, raised by a single mom, has been dating and attracting women and having relationships with the women you want to. And that's why I've created a course that takes you end to end, from how you can meet more women, to your mindset, to getting more dates, to running relationships effectively, specifically for men who were raised by single moms, because I was one, and I've spent years like teaching myself and failing with women and getting better at it. to the point where I've gotten true abundance in my life. And so if you're interested in that, then the link is going to be in the description. You can check out the course page over there. So back to my argument that essentially men are just expected to have it all figured out. We're not being provided with any solutions by women, by society. We're just expected to turn up and to be competent and attractive and to fulfill the fantasies of these women and to play our role in society as competent men. And so this isn't a video to whine about how it's so unfair and how society has failed us, because it's all well and good, and maybe like objectively we'd be correct in saying that, right? But it's not actually going to improve our life today, because we've already had our upbringing. You're already a young man if you're watching this. And so it's a bit too late, to be fair, to have that balanced upbringing that we needed back when we were kids. So if anything changes, it's going to be for the next generation, maybe our kids or our children's children. But in the meantime, I'm not going to sit by and not make the most of this life and not live my life to the maximum as the best version of myself I can be, just because society has fucked up. So I'm taking ownership of my direction in life, and I want to take you along with me on this ride. So if you have the same mentality that you think, okay, well, despite these disadvantages I've had, like there's some guys out there who've had it worse than me and they've done better than me already and they've overcome these issues, I want to do the same, then you're exactly the kind of guy that I want in our new community, which is the Single Mother Adonis School community that you can access by buying the course in the description, where we're going to have calls, we're going to have forum discussions with myself and other guys who are in the same boat. They were also raised by single moms, raised without good father figures. And you share experiences and we'll all learn from each other and grow together, because, again, it can be a very isolating experience since nobody talks about this stuff. You'll have other guys who will understand exactly the pain point, like, oh, it always annoys me. My mom tells me to like not go to kickboxing because I might get hurt, and I feel like she's kind of undermining my masculinity, and I just like feel more feminine when she says that, and I feel less confident. Like, bro, there's gonna be a guy out there who has experienced the exact same shit because his mom also tells him the same things, and he'll be able to relate to each other and think, oh yeah, like what did you do to get her to stop this, and how did you get your mindset right around it, and all this stuff that like only guys who have gone through it will fully understand. And so I want to provide this environment for guys like us who need it. And that's why like I'll be stoked to have you in the community, to have you join and share your experiences, because it's going to be valuable not just for you, but for the guys who are going to be joining now and in the future, to learn from what you've experienced, and you can learn from them in return. And so, final call to action, check out the course in the description. It's the dating course right now, but we're going to be adding more courses and modules down the line on different aspects of being a young man and achieving success, whether that's dating, whether that's your mindset, your physique, your character, everything that you basically need to become a more complex and more valuable man. And so check it out, see if it's a fit for you, and we'd love to have you in there. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next video.